Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever noticed that some of the most confusing, mind-bending ideas in logic, math, and even computer science kind of feel like they're all related? Well, it turns out they do more than just feel related. They share a secret blueprint that once you see it, completely changes how you look at them forever.
So what is the secret connection between a sentence that talks about itself, a mathematical proof that can't prove itself, and a computer program that can't predict itself? Let's take a look at our clues. First up, you've got the classic liar paradox. This sentence is false. Okay, so if it's true, then it has to be false. But if it's false, well, that makes it true. It's a perfect, inescapable loop that just breaks your brain.
Our next clue comes from the world of mathematics, with Kurt Gödel's legendary incompleteness theorems. He did something absolutely wild. He created mathematical statements that are definitely true, but then he showed that the system of math they live in can never, ever prove them. It's like math has these built-in blind spots about its own truth.
And for our final clue, we're jumping into the world of computer science with the halting problem. The great Alan Turing proved that it is fundamentally impossible to write one single perfect program, like an ultimate debugger, that can look at any other program and know for sure if it'll run forever or eventually stop. It just can't be done.
So these all seem pretty different, right? But the secret they share was first uncovered during this really dramatic intellectual showdown around the turn of the 20th century. And it all started with a paradox discovered by Bertrand Russell that pretty much broke the foundations of logic.
To get a feel for it, let's start with the simple barber paradox. So in a village, there's a barber who shaves everyone who doesn't shave themselves. The question is, who shaves the barber? Well, think about it. If he shaves himself, he violates his own rule, because he only shaves guys who don't. But if he doesn't shave himself, then he fits the rule and he has to be shaved by the barber, which is him. It's the same logic loop, just in disguise.
Now, what's so wild is that Russell wasn't thinking about barbers. He was thinking about sets. See, back then, logicians all worked with this very intuitive, common-sense idea called the naive comprehension principle. All it says is if you can describe something, like being a chair or being an even number, you can create a set of all the things that have that property. Seems totally obvious, right?
Well, Russell took that simple idea and created a logic bomb. First, he defined a set. We'll call it R. And the rule for this set was simple. It contains all the sets that do not contain themselves. Most sets are like this. The set of all dogs isn't a dog itself. But then he asked one devastating question. Does R contain itself? And here's where it all falls apart. If R contains itself, it violates its own rule, so it shouldn't be in there. But if it doesn't contain itself, it fits the rule perfectly, so it must be in there. It's a total, unbreakable contradiction.
So Russell figures this out in 1901. A year later, he writes a letter to Gottlob Frege, a German logician who was just about to publish his life's work, a huge project to build all of arithmetic from pure logic. And Russell's little paradox just blew a giant hole right through the center of it.
And Frege's response, wow, it was just a moment of incredible intellectual honesty. He wrote back, "Your discovery has shaken the basis on which I intended to build arithmetic." He got it instantly. His life's work shattered by a single polite letter. He actually added a note to his book admitting the problem, but they say he never really got over it.
So what do we do with this? How do we make sense of a paradox that can break logic? Well, the secret weapon for understanding all of this, actually came from the very work Russell was studying when he had his breakthrough, the work of a mathematician named George Cantor, and his amazing diagonal trick.
Okay, so check this out. Imagine you could make a complete, infinite list of every possible set of numbers. Cantor showed this is impossible. Here's the trick. You create a new set that you can guarantee is not on your list. You just go down the list diagonally, and for each set, you flip the value. If the first item is in set 1, you make it out of your new set. If the second item is out of set 2, you make it in. You keep doing this all the way down. The new set you just built can't be set 1 because it's different in the first spot. It can't be set 2 because it's different in the second spot. It can't be any set on the list.
And here's the big takeaway from that. Any attempt you make to create a complete list that contains everything is doomed to fail. You can always use the system's own rules to build something new that the system itself can't contain. There's always going to be something that's not on the list.
So, how does this clever math trick solve the mystery of Russell's paradox? Well, this is the moment where it all clicks into place. Cantor's diagonal argument isn't just some neat proof. It is the exact blueprint for Russell's paradox.
Just look at the parallel here. Cantor starts by assuming you can have a complete list of all sets. Russell starts by assuming you can form a set of all sets. Cantor builds his new escapee set by flipping the diagonal property of in or out. Russell builds his set based on the diagonal property of self-membership. Is it in itself or out? For Cantor, the new set proves the list is incomplete. For Russell, the new set creates a contradiction that proves his starting assumption was just plain wrong. It is the exact same diagonal logic, just applied to a different problem. And that leads us to the biggest aha moment of all. These paradoxes, they're not mistakes, they're not bugs in our logic. They are fundamental features. They are like giant signposts, showing us the absolute limits of what any formal system can do.
So now we can finally solve our initial mystery. The liar paradox, Gödel's theorems, the halting problem, Russell's paradox, they are all just different flavors of this same diagonal argument. Every single one is a case of a system trying to talk about itself, to describe itself completely. And every single time, this self-reference creates a diagonal element, a sentence, a proof, a program, a set that the system just can't handle.
As the computer scientist Noson Yanofsky put it so perfectly, they all say the same thing. You're going to have trouble when things try to deal with their own properties. That's it. That's the ultimate rule of self-reference. Which leaves us with this final thought. What if these aren't really paradoxes at all? As Yanofsky says, there are really no paradoxes. There are limitations. They don't break logic. They just show us where the fences are. They show us the very edge of what can be known, proven, or computed. And knowing where that edge is, well, that's a pretty profound piece of knowledge all by itself.